Hey there, I'm estate planning attorney Paul Rabalais, and in this video, I'm going to break down 8 unique aspects of estate planning in the state of Texas. Things that trip up families all the time. And by the way, if you find this helpful, me and my Texas licensed attorney and contributing author just finished a brand new book called Estate Planning in Texas. The ebook, it's available for pre-order right now, and it releases along with the paperback on December 11th of this year, 2025. I'll link it below. All right. First unique aspect of estate planning in Texas is that Texas is one of those states that has its own statutory durable power of attorney. The legislature in Texas created a power of attorney form. It's recognizable statewide. Banks and financial institutions are more likely to honor it because they're familiar with it. It has a broad list of powers that you can choose and checkboxes that you can choose if you want to designate which powers your agent you'd want or not want your agent on your durable power of attorney to have. And that power of attorney on the statutory form, you can make it effective immediately, or you can make it effective so that it's springing, which typically means it springs into effect only when you become incapacitated. And by the way, here's a little bonus. Anybody who gets my book will receive a free access code so you can download and use the up-to-date Texas statutory power of attorney directly, ready to fill out and use. That way you don't have to hire an attorney, hunt for it online, or worry about whether it's the correct up-to-date version. Okay, unique aspect number 2. Well, in addition to having a statutory, durable, or financial power of attorney, Texas also has a statutory, what they call medical power of attorney. Similar to the general or durable or financial power of attorney, the legislature created a medical power of attorney form, and medical providers in Texas are trained to recognize this exact form, so they're more familiar with it if your agent needs to make a medical decision on your behalf because you're not able to make one for yourself. Number 3, there's another one. Texas has a standardized or statutory advanced directive is what they call it. Sometimes people will call it a living will. It's that statement that you can make regarding whether or not you would want life support machines withheld in the event you're in that profound comatose state with no chance of recovery and the machines are serving only to artificially prolong the dying process. Many people like the idea of a living will or that advanced directive because it relieves your surviving family members from the burden of having to make that decision because you documented your decision and you directed your family and your physicians to honor your wishes. Okay, number 4, that estate planning aspect that makes Texas unique is that Texas is a community property state, which generally means that if married people acquire assets during their marriage, those assets are community property, they're owned 50-50, even if they are titled in only one spouse's name. So yes, sometimes a spouse will also have some separate property. Maybe that would be an inheritance that only that spouse received. Maybe that might be a gift that only that spouse received, or maybe it was assets that were brought into the marriage by a particular spouse. So the Texas community property rules impact how estates pass at death and also how taxes apply. More on taxes later. All right, unique aspect number 5 has to do with the step up in community property. Because Texas is a community property state, then under federal law, Texas community property receives a full step up at the first spouse's death, not just the deceased spouse's half. Let me give you an example. Let's say a married couple purchased some stock for $10 a share, held it for years. Now it's worth $200 a share. Well, obviously what that means is if that couple sells that stock at $200 a share and they bought it for $10 a share, that'd be $190 of capital gain. They'd owe capital gains tax on that capital gain. However, because number 1, Texas is a community property state, and number 2, because federal law permits it, when the first spouse dies in a community property state, all of the community property gets a new basis. So under our example, that $10 share of stock, the basis is increased when the first spouse dies from $10 a share to, let's say, $200 a share, the value on the date that that first spouse dies. Many people mistakenly believe that only the deceased spouse's half of the stock gets a step up in basis, but that's not correct. Believe it or not, all of the community property gets a step up in basis, which can be a big tax benefit for surviving spouses who sell appreciated real estate or appreciated investments that are in a brokerage account after the first spouse dies. And quite frankly, for anyone who gets my estate planning in Texas book, I've included a free access code to download the exact will forms that preserve not only the step up of the community property when the first spouse dies, but also another step up of everything when the surviving spouse dies. So for example, when the first spouse dies, all of the community property gets a step up in basis, and the first spouse to die's separate property gets a step up in basis. And so we've included free access to some will forms where all of the assets of the first spouse to die get included in the estate of the surviving spouse. So when the surviving spouse dies, it all gets another step up in basis, which can really help out your kids after the surviving spouse passes away, your kids or other heirs. All right, unique aspect number 6, easy vehicle transfers. So there's two aspects to this. There's the Form VTR. VTR stands for Vehicle Title and Registration. VTR 121. This form lets a living owner of a vehicle designate a beneficiary to receive the vehicle automatically when the owner dies. Think of it like a beneficiary designation for a vehicle, or a payable on death, or a transfer on death for a car. And then there's another one called the Form VTR, Vehicle Title and Registration, VTR 262. This form is used to transfer a vehicle when the owner has died and the estate is not being or will not be probated. In effect, the heirs use this VTR-262 to claim ownership of the vehicle. So both of those Texas vehicle forms avoid probate for the vehicles, and they are quick and they are inexpensive. Okay, unique aspect number 7, independent administration. So if independent administration is authorized in a will, then the settling of the estate can avoid much of the court supervision. So there's still a probate when there is what's called independent administration, but the executor can act with less court supervision, or the executor can take actions independent of court approval, much easier than if the probate administration is not independent. So this reduces time, cost, and frustration. And again, I keep going back to my book, but I've put a lot of work into this. For those who do purchase my book, get the free access code, download the forms. All those will forms in it provide for an independent administration, which can save your family a lot of time, effort, and money. And then number 8 unique aspect of Texas is there is no Texas state estate tax or inheritance tax. Again, no state level estate tax or inheritance tax. Only the federal estate tax applies. And for the year 2026, when someone dies in 2026, they can leave up to $15 million free of the 40% federal estate tax. And really what that means, if you're a married couple and you structure things the right way, then you can leave up to $30 million of assets to your survivors free of any estate tax, federal or state. Federal because the exemptions cover the first $30 million for a married couple. State, Texas state level because Texas doesn't have a state level estate or inheritance tax. So all that is a big advantage for really even families with large estates, those estates that are under $30 million. So there's your 8 unique aspects. There's a bunch more, and I'll do other videos on it. But I want to thank you provide a big thank you to everyone who's ordering my new book, Estate Planning in Texas. If you haven't yet, it's linked below. Each copy comes with a free access code to Texas-specific will and power of attorney forms. And if you do get the book, your review on Amazon really helps others find it. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.